Have you ever wondered if you have a soul or a spirit? Something more perhaps or other than your physical body, that maybe lives forever? I've wondered about this. And when I was Jewish, the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, didn't really provide much consolation in this regard. Not really, not like the New Testament. So when I became Jewish, it was kind of tough. And now that I've become more of an agnostic theist, I've really wondered about this. Now, I'm definitely hopeful that a person does have something like a soul or a spirit. And here's my reasoning why I think that yes, you do have a soul or a spirit. It has to do with free will. Okay, how is it possible that you can truly have a free will? And you really have to make a decision. Does free will actually exist or not? Okay? Okay, is free will entirely a product of your environment and all the variables of your environment, or is it totally its own thing, separate from your environment? Because you could argue that, well, if you knew all the variables in your environment that were affecting you, then you could mathematically calculate exactly what decisions you were going to make, and you would know for sure that you didn't have any free will. And therefore criminals shouldn't be punished because everything they did was predetermined, and it was no way to, it was all dependent on their environment and such like that, and these predetermined variables. So me personally, I choose to believe that yes, you do have the miracle of a free will, that it is a mystery, even a divine mystery of a free will. That no, your actions aren't already predetermined. And also I believe that time does not actually effectively exist. And here's what I mean. Can you go to the past? Will man ever be able to build a time machine to travel in the past or the future? You know what? I don't think that will ever happen. I don't get the impression that it's going to happen. I don't think that time, as far as the past and the future, actually exists. So that's something else to think about in addition to this, is that, I don't necessarily think there is a future, that you actually determine the future by your choices. You're actually changing reality ever so slightly by your conscious decisions. That's kind of the mystery of free will, which I believe is a reality, that you do have a free will. And so you see, if there was no spirit or no soul or anything like that, then you really couldn't have a free will. There would be no such thing as a free will. All of your actions will be entirely determined by all the variables in your environment. They would be totally settled what your actions were going to be because of those environmental variables. You see, it's all mathematical. You just have to calculate all the different variables and how they're working together to produce a certain result. And it should be all theoretically totally predictable if you knew all the variables. You see? So you just have to really think about this for a second. Do you believe you have a free will or not? If you do have a free will, that's to me, that is extremely good evidence that you do have something like something spiritual, maybe hard to define, but something like a soul or a spirit or something to that effect, something that can't be defined as existing, because I don't think scientists would ever be able to measure it in the laboratory, or with their instruments. I don't think that'll ever happen as far as measuring a soul, or how much does a soul weigh, or what's its dimensions, is it fast, is it slow, does it move around, can it travel, they're thinking in terms of the physical material reality. The reason being because the human mind can only relate to the universe. It can't relate to anything other than the universe. So if something is not of the universe, it's not something that technically exists, then your mind can't relate to it in any way, shape, or form. So I would caution people against trying to envision some kind of a ghost, or something that like is a spirit that has three dimensions and it's just kind of like some kind of a vapor that, is kind of some sort of invisible substance that scientists haven't quite figured out how to measure or detect. I don't think that's quite the definition of a spirit or a soul. I do think there are definitely different classifications of spirits, that are out there. I have seen spirits that can do healing miracles and signs and wonders and all kinds of crazy stuff to manipulate the physical realm. So I know for myself that stuff is very real amongst the various religions of the world, that they have these things. But you'll notice that whatever a person has, if a person has a soul or a spirit, that spirit is not capable of manipulating its environment except through the body. So it's very different than these other miracle working spirits in these various religions. The soul or spirit that a man has cannot manipulate the physical realm supernaturally, but is instead only able to manipulate the physical realm and his surroundings through the body, through manipulating the body physically, through handling your physical environment and otherwise altering it. So there are two classifications of spirits in my mind, or something like a spirit or a soul. There's those that have supernatural power over the universe, and there's the spirits or souls that do not. And that's how, at this point, that's the general conclusions that I can draw. So if you want to figure out some more of this kind of stuff, I would suggest asking God for logical wisdom and understanding, and so that you can possibly come to good conclusions. Is God able to be logical with people? So seek God for wisdom.